There now appeared a common vagrant who used to beg in the town of Ithaca, and was notorious for his insatiable greed and his ability to eat and drink all the time. He was a big fellow, yet in spite of appearances he had no stamina or muscle. Arnius was the name his lady mother had given him at birth, but all the young men nicknamed him Irus, as he ran errands for anyone who asked. There's a little note at the bottom of the page that says Irus is like Iris the messenger goddess, so the suitors are likening themselves to gods, and Irus is their messenger. This was the man who now came along intent on chasing Odysseus from his own house. He began to abuse him, and his words flew.
"Get away from the porch, old man, or you'll find yourself dragged off by the foot. Can't you see they're all tipping me the wink to haul you out? Though I'm reluctant to. Get up now, or you and I will soon come to blows."
Odysseus of the nimble wits gave him a black look.
"What's got into you?"
he replied.
"I'm not doing or saying anything to hurt you. I don't grudge what anyone may give you, however much it is. This threshold will hold us both, and you shouldn't mind if people give me things, since, I take it, you are a tramp like myself, and we are both dependent on the gods for a living. Think twice before you challenge me, or once you have roused me, old as I am, I'll dye your lips and breast with your own blood. That would also give me a quieter day tomorrow, for I don't think that you'd ever come back to this palace of Laertes, son of Odysseus."
At this, the beggar Iris lost his temper.
"Well, I'll be,"
he cried.
"How glibly the swine talks, like an old hag at an oven. But I've a nasty trick in store for him, a right and left that'll smash all the teeth from his jaws onto the ground like a sow caught eating the crops. Tuck up your clothes and let all these gentlemen here see how we fight. How can you dare to match yourself against a younger man?"
In this way they lashed each other into a fury, there on the polished threshold in front of the high doors. The great Antinous, hearing them, laughed gleefully and called to the rest of the suitors.
"My friends, this beats everything. What a treat some god has laid on for us here in the palace. The stranger and Irus are challenging each other to a fight. Let's make a match of it, quick."
They all jumped up, laughing, and as they crowded round the ragged beggars, Antinous, Eupeithes' son, continued.
"Gentlemen, listen to me. I have a suggestion. We have some goat's paunches roasting there at the fire, which we stuffed with fat and blood and planned to have for supper. Whoever wins and proves himself the better man shall come up and take his pick of them. And not only that, he shall join us regularly at dinner, and will allow no other tramp to beg in this company."
They all approved Antinous' idea, and the wily Odysseus now made a crafty suggestion.
"Friends,"
he said,
"there's no way in which an old fellow broken down by hardships can take on a younger man. Yet this mischievous belly of mine eggs me on to take my thrashings. So now I ask you all to take an oath. No one must side with Iris. I don't want to lose to him through an unfair blow from one of you."
At this they all took the oath he asked of them, and when they had sworn the full oath, the great Telemachus put in his word. "Stranger, if you have the heart and pluck to match yourself against this man, you need not be afraid of any of these gentlemen. Whoever strikes you will have to face the rest. I am the host here, and the lords Antinous and Eurymachus, good judges both, support me." They all approved his words, so Odysseus tucked up his rags round his loins and bared his fine, massive thighs. His broad shoulders and his chest and brawny arms were now revealed. Athene herself stood by and filled out the limbs of this shepherd of the people. As a result, all the suitors were lost in amazement, and significant glances and comments were exchanged.
"Under those rags of his, what a thigh the old fellow has. Iris is going to be un-irised." He was looking for trouble and he'll find it.
Iris was badly shaken by these comments, but in spite of that the servants hitched up his clothes and dragged him forcibly to the front, though he was in such a state of panic that the flesh quivered on all his limbs. And now Antinous burst out with a tirade of abuse.
You great ox, it would be better for you if you were dead or hadn't been born, if you're going to stand quaking there in mortal terror of an old man broken down by the hardships he's endured. I'll tell you this, and it will happen. If this fellow beats you and shows himself the better man, I'll throw you into a black ship and send you over to the mainland, to King Echetus the Destroyer, who will have your nose and ears off with his cruel knife and rip away your privy parts to give them as raw meat to the dogs.
At these words, Iris's limbs trembled all the more. However, they dragged him into the ring, and the pair raised their fists. The patient, good Odysseus considered carefully whether he should fell him with a mortal blow or knock him to the ground with a gentler punch. In the end, he decided on the lighter blow, so that the Achaeans would not suspect him. Then they both drew themselves up. Iris aimed a blow at Odysseus's right shoulder, but Odysseus struck Iris's neck below the ear and smashed in the bone so that the red blood gushed up through his mouth, and he fell down into the dust with a scream, grimacing and drumming on the earth with his feet. At this the noble suitors threw up their hands and died of laughing. Odysseus seized Iris by the foot and dragged him out through the entrance across the courtyard to the portico gate. There he propped him against the courtyard wall, put his stick in his hand, and said in words that flew,
"Sit there now and scare the pigs and dogs away. You're a worthless fellow, so don't try to lord it over strangers and beggars, or something worse will happen to you."
Then he slung the strap of his worn and shabby knapsack over his shoulder, and returning to the threshold sat down again. The haughty suitors flocked back into the hall, laughing gleefully, and congratulated Odysseus.
"Stranger,"
they said,
"may Zeus and the other gods grant you your dearest wish and your heart's desire for having stopped that glutton from roaming about the land. Now we'll soon pack him off to the mainland, to King Echetus the Destroyer."
The noble Odysseus was glad of their unconsciously prophetic word. Antinous now presented him with a large paunch stuffed with fat and blood. Yuck! And Amphinomus picked out 2 loaves from a bowl, put them down beside him, and drank to him from a golden cup.
"Your health, my ancient friend,"
he said.
"You are having a hard time now, but here's to your future happiness."
"Amphinomus,"
the resourceful Odysseus answered him.
"You seem to be sensible, like your father, Nisus of Dulichium. I have heard of his great reputation as a good man and a rich one. You are his son, they say, and seem to be intelligent, so I'm going to say something important to you. Listen and take it to heart. Of all the creatures that breathe and creep about on Mother Earth, there is none so helpless as man. As long as the gods grant him prosperity and health, he imagines he will never suffer misfortune in the future.
So be humble.
Yet when the blessed gods bring him troubles, he has no choice but to endure them with a patient heart. The reason is that the view we mortals take of this earthly life depends on what Zeus, the father of gods and men, sends us day by day. There was a time when I was marked out as successful in my dealings with men, but I abandoned myself to a life of looting and violence, and committed many wicked crimes, under the delusion that my father and brothers would stand by me.
A lie, seeing as he has no brothers.
Let that be a lesson to every man never to live a lawless life, but quietly to enjoy whatever the gods may give him. Yet what I see here are suitors plotting these outrages, wasting a man's property and treating his wife with disrespect. A man who will not be away much longer from his friends and his own country. In fact, he is very near, and I hope that some power may guide you away to your own home, and that you will not have to face him on the day he returns to his native land. Once he is under his own roof, I have an idea that blood will be spilt before he and the suitors are parted."
As he finished, Odysseus made his libation and drank the mellow wine, then returned the cup into the young nobleman's hands. But Amphinomus went back through the hall with a heavy heart, shaking his head, for he was filled with a foreboding of disaster. Not that it saved him from his fate, for Athene had already marked him out to fall to a spear from Telemachus's hand. Spoilers! Meanwhile, he went back and sat down again on the chair he had just left. It was now that Athene, goddess of the flashing eyes, put it into the head of Icarius's wise daughter Penelope to appear before the suitors, with the idea of opening their hearts and enhancing her value in the eyes of her husband and her son. So with a forced laugh she said,
"Eurynome, my heart moves me, as it never has before, to show myself to my suitors, much as I detest them. I should also like to have a word with my son for his own good, and warn him not to spend too much time with these unruly suitors, whose words are friendly, but whose intentions are evil."
"My child," said the housekeeper, Eurynome, "everything you say is quite right. Go and speak frankly to your son. Tell him what is in your mind, but first wash yourself and anoint your cheeks. You mustn't go like this, with your face stained with tears. It's a bad thing to be endlessly weeping, and your son is quite grown up now. It was always your special prayer to the gods to see him with a beard."
"Eurynome,"
said the sagacious Penelope,
"I know your concern for me, but don't encourage me in this way to wash myself and anoint my cheeks. The gods of Olympus robbed me of my looks on the day my husband took ship and sailed away. However, tell Autonoe and Hippodamia to come here and attend me in the hall. I am not going to face that masculine company alone. Modesty forbids."
So the old woman went off through the house to take this message to the maids and send them to their mistress. The bright-eyed goddess Athene now had another idea. She shed sweet drowsiness on Penelope so that her whole body relaxed, and she leant back and fell asleep on the couch where she was sitting. The great goddess then endowed her with immortal gifts to make the Achaeans marvel at her beauty. First, she cleansed her fair cheeks with a divine ointment used by Aphrodite when she puts on her lovely crown to join the Graces in their charming dance. Then she made her taller and fuller in appearance, bigger boobs, and her skin whiter than newly sawn ivory. When her work was done, the goddess withdrew, and the white-armed maids came up from another part of the house chattering. Penelope woke up, rubbed her cheeks with her hands and exclaimed,
"What a wonderful sleep, in spite of all my troubles. I wish holy Artemis would grant me a death as gentle as that this very moment, and save me from wasting my life in anguish and longing for my dear husband, who had all the virtues, and was the finest man in all Achaea."
Then she left her bright room and went downstairs, not by herself, but with the two waiting women. When she came near to her suitors, the great lady drew a fold of her shining veil across her cheeks, took her stand by a pillar of the massive roof, with a faithful maid on either side. The suitors went weak at the knees, their hearts melted with desire, and every man among them voiced a prayer that he might sleep with her. Okay, lovely. But Penelope turned to her dear son.
"Telemachus,"
She said,
"your sense and judgment aren't what they were. As a boy, you used to have much greater shrewdness. But now that you are grown up and have entered on manhood, and anyone from the outside world, seeing how tall and handsome you are, would take you for a rich man's son, you no longer show the same sense and judgment. Look what has just happened in this hall, how you allow this visitor of ours to be shamefully treated. What if our guest, sitting quietly in our home, were to suffer serious harm from such rough handling. It is on you that people would lay the blame and the disgrace.
Mother, the sensible Telemachus replied, I don't resent your indignation at what happened, but I do note and understand everything they do, the good and the bad. I am not the child I was, but it is impossible for me to always take the sensible line. I am being harassed by these mischief makers who surround me here, and there's no one to support me. However, this fight between the stranger and Iris did not go as the suitors wished, and the stranger won. Ah, Father Zeus, Athene, and Apollo. That's like Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. How I should love this very day in our palace to see these suitors, beaten men, scattered about in the courtyard, and in our halls with their heads lolling on their shoulders, and the strength knocked out of all their limbs, just like Iris sitting out there in the courtyard gate, his head lolling like a drunkard's, and unable to stand on his feet and find his way home to his own place. A broken man. These were the words that passed between them. Then Eurymachus said to Penelope,
Daughter of Icarius, wise Penelope, if all the Achaeans in Ionian Argos could set eyes on you, even more suitors would be feasting in your halls tomorrow, for in loveliness of face and form, and in wisdom, you are supreme among women.
Notice how wisdom was last. First he focused on face and body. Ew,
Ah, Eurymachus,
the prudent Penelope replied.
the gods destroyed my loveliness of face and form, and my preeminence, when the Argives embarked for Ilium, and my husband Odysseus went with them. If he could return and devote himself to me, my good name would indeed be embellished and enhanced. But I am left to my misery. A power above has heaped so many troubles on my head. When he left this land of his, he gently took me by the wrist of my right hand and said, Wife, I do not think all the Achaean soldiers will return from Troy unhurt, for they say the Trojans are good fighters too, both with javelin and bow, and as charioteers, who can tip the scales in an evenly matched battle more quickly than anything. So I cannot say whether the gods...
Nope. Yep.
No.
Yes.
So I cannot say whether the gods will let me come back or whether I shall fall there on Trojan soil.
Oh, hi! Ooh, zoomies have occurred. Bye, Aya. And she's back. Hi, baby. Ready, go. Ready, go.
But I leave everything here in your charge. Look after my father and mother, in the house as you do now, or with even greater care when I am gone. And when you see a beard on your boy's chin, marry whom you want to, and leave your home. That is what he said, and now it is all coming true. I see approaching me the night when I must accept a detestable union. It will be the end of me. Zeus has destroyed my happiness. Meanwhile, here is something that is causing me the utmost distress. Yours is by no means the right and time-honoured way for rivals to conduct their suit for a lady of a good family and a rich man's daughter. Such suitors bring in their own cattle and sheep to make a banquet for the lady's friends, and also give her valuable presents. They do not enjoy free meals at her expense.
The noble, patient Odysseus was delighted at her words. Because she was extorting gifts from her suitors and bewitching them by her persuasive words, while all the time her heart was set on something quite different. It was Antinous, Eupeithes' son, who answered her.
Daughter of Icarius, wise Penelope,
He said,
by all means accept every gift that any of us may wish to bring you. It would be ungracious not to give, but we will not return to our own estates, nor go anywhere else, till you marry the best man among us.
The others agreed, and each sent off his squire to fetch a gift. For Antinous they brought a long embroidered robe of the most beautiful material, on which were fixed a dozen golden brooches, each fitted with a pin with a curved sheath, and for Eurymachus a golden chain of exquisite workmanship, strung with amber beads that gleamed like the sun. For Eurydamas, his 2 squires brought a pair of earrings, with clusters of 3 drops glowing with beauty. And from the house of Prince Peisander, Polyctor's son, there came a squire with a necklace, a lovely piece of jewellery. Thus each of the young lords contributed his own valuable gift, and presently the great lady Penelope withdrew to her upper apartment, escorted by her waiting women, carrying the magnificent presents. From then till dusk, the suitors gave themselves up to the pleasures of dancing and the delights of song. Darkness found them still revelling. They set up 3 braziers. Is it braziers? That's a bra. Or is it braziers? They set up 3 braziers in the hall to give them light, heaped them with dry firewood, thoroughly seasoned and newly split, and thrust some burning brands into each pile. The maids of the long-suffering Odysseus took it in turns to feed the flames. But it was Odysseus himself, the favourite of Zeus, the master strategist, who now spoke to them.
Maids of Odysseus, your long-absent master, go to the room where your mistress the queen is, sit with her and cheer her spirits, spinning wool with her or carding it with your fingers. Meanwhile I will provide light for the company, and even if they wish to carry on till dawn arrives on her throne, they won't exhaust me. I don't tire easily.
Is he getting them out of the way? It seems like he's getting them out of the way, so that they don't get caught in the fighting, maybe. The girls laughed and exchanged glances, but Melantho of the pretty cheeks jeered at him outrageously. She was a daughter of Dolius, whom Penelope had reared and looked after as tenderly as her own child, giving her all the toys she could desire. But in spite of this, the girl had no sympathy for Penelope's woes. She was in love with Eurymachus, and had become his mistress. Oh, I see. So he's wanting to marry Penelope whilst also doing her. Wow, that's such a lucky girl. It was she who now spoke insultingly to Odysseus.
You still here? You must be soft in the head not to go for your night's lodging to the smithy or some other doss house, instead of coming here and airing your views so boldly and disrespectfully before all these gentlemen. The wine has fuddled your wits, or perhaps you talk such rubbish only because you are always like this. Has the beating you gave the beggar Iris gone to your head? Look out, or before long a better man than Iris will stand up to punch your head in with his great fists and send you packing covered in blood.
You bitch,
retorted the ready-witted Odysseus, giving her a black look.
I shall go straight over and tell Telemachus what you said, so he can hack you to pieces on the spot.
His words sent the women scuttling through the house, their knees trembling beneath them in alarm, for they were convinced he meant it. But Odysseus took his stand by the burning braziers, tending the lights and keeping an eye on them all, though his thoughts were busy elsewhere with schemes that were not doomed to come to nothing. Athene, meanwhile, had no intention of allowing the insolent suitors to abandon their caustic insults. She wished the anguish to bite deeper yet into the heart of Odysseus, Laertes' son. Why? Why do you want him to feel more hurt? Maybe that's because she wants him to be more angry, and therefore more bloodshed, which is a bit fucked up. Eurymachus was the first to taunt the stranger and raise a laugh among his friends.
Listen, fellow suitors of our noble queen,
he cried.
Something in me prompts me to speak.
That would be Athene.
This fellow's coming to Odysseus's palace is a godsend. At any rate, it seems to me that the torchlight comes from the man's head. There is not the slightest vestige of hair on it.
The boldness is part of the disguise, but at least he's going to live long enough to be bold. He then turned to Odysseus, the sacker of cities.
Stranger,
he said,
I wonder how you'd like to work for me if I hired you, at a proper wage, of course, choosing stones for building walls, and planting trees for timber on an outlying farm of mine. I would see that you had regular food, and provide you with clothing and sandals. But you've got into bad ways, and work on a farm is the last thing you're looking for.
How do they know that? They haven't asked.
You'd much rather fill your gluttonous belly by grovelling and begging round the town.
I only wish, Eurymachus,
replied the ready-witted Odysseus,
that you and I could compete as labourers in the spring, when the days are drawing out, in a hayfield, I with a curved reaping hook and you with another, so that we could test each other at work, with nothing to eat till well after dusk, and plenty of grass to cut. Or we might have a pair of oxen to drive, tawny great thoroughbreds bursting with fodder, matched in age and strength, and champion with power, in a 4-acre field with loam that yielded nicely to the ploughshare. You'd see then whether I could cut a furrow straight, or I wish that Zeus would this very day stir up a war from somewhere, and that I had a shield and a couple of spears, and a bronze helmet fitting round my temples. It would be out in the front line that you'd find me then, and you'd have no more quips to make at this paunch of mine. But you're just a braggart, with the heart of a bully, who take yourself for a big man and a hero only because the people you meet are so few and so undistinguished. Ah, if Odysseus could only return to his native land and come here, you'd soon find that doorway there, wide though it is, too narrow for you in your hurry to run away.
Fighting words then there is. Eurymachus's wrath boiled over. With a black look he rounded on Odysseus.
You miserable creature,
he cried.
I'll soon make you pay for talking with such barefaced impudence in front of this company. The wine must have got at your wits, or perhaps you talk such rubbish only because you are always like this. Has the beating you gave that beggar Iris gone to your head?
That seems to be a repeat of what his lady mistress said. Oh, motorbikers interrupt us. And as he spoke, he seized a stool. But Odysseus, fearing his attack, ducked down at the knees of Amphinnomus. Ducked down at the knees of Amphinnomus of Dulichium, and Eurymachus's missile struck the wine steward on the right hand, so that his jug dropped with a clang on the floor, and he himself with a cry fell backwards in the dust. Oops! The shadowy hall was at once filled with uproar. The suitors looked at each other, saying,
If only the vagabond had died somewhere else before he came here, then he would never have caused such a commotion.
I mean, he didn't throw the frickin' stool.
Here we are, at blows about beggars, and our pleasure in this fine feast is going to be spoiled by this outburst of hooliganism.
The hooliganism from one of your friends. But now the great Telemachus spoke out.
What's got into you? You are out of your senses. It is obvious you can't hold your food and wine. Some god must be stirring you up. Come now, you have dined well. I suggest you go home to bed when you are ready, though, of course, I am hustling no one out.
At this, they could only bite their lips and wonder that Telemachus should have the nerve to address them so. He's got the nerve because his daddy's there. At last, Amphinnomus, the famous son of Aretius' son, Lord Nisus, spoke up.
My friends,
he said. Motorbikers interrupt us.
My friends,
he said.
when the right thing has been said, carping, criticism, and resentment are out of place. Let nobody maltreat this stranger or any of the servants of noble Odysseus' household. Come, let a wine steward fill each man's cup.
Not the one that's on the floor. Give him the night off.
Let a wine steward fill each man's cup so that we can make offerings and go home to bed, leaving our visitor here in the palace to Telemachus' care. For after all, it is to his house that he has come.
Everyone welcomed his suggestion. Mullius, a squire from Dulichium and in Amphinomus's retinue, mixed them a bowl of wine and then went the rounds and served them all. They poured out their offerings to the blessed gods before drinking up the mellow wine, and when they had made their libations and drunk all they wanted, they dispersed for the night, each to his own home. Oh, so they can go home. I thought it was going to be a fight. I've just seen the title of the next one.